Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Last Boxing, joined by regular Sean. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, mate.
Yeah, thank you for joining this ungodly hour. Much appreciated. I thought it was important to get this video out regarding Boxer. So, obviously, the news is embargoed until 1 minute past midnight last night regarding the fact that they have joined BBC. Worst kept secret in boxing, I think, but they still felt they need to embargo it, which is fair enough. No mention of figures though, Sean, in that press release. No mention of how much they're going to be given a year to put shows on, and I think that's the biggest concern, right? What does the budget look like?
Yeah, absolutely. You would think it'll be fairly modest. I mean, don't forget the BBC is run by the licensed payers, so it's not like they're a private company like Sky where they've got endless amounts of money. So yeah, it will be interesting to see what quality they have on their shows. Also interesting that they didn't really highlight any of their current stable as well. There was a brief mention of Laura Price I saw on the BBC website, but apart from that, no mention of any of their superstars like Azim or like Whitaker. So you presume that they'll be off.
It's quite interesting regarding the rights fees for foreign broadcasting, right? Because BBC iPlayer is only available in the UK. I don't know whether he's still got the deal with Peacock out in the States, but that all needs playing out as well, right? Because the foreign market's an important market, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't know the number, but I can't imagine too many people in the US tuned in for many of the boxing shows, to be honest. So, although they're not global like DAZN is, for example, it's still an important issue, as you rightly say.
I think there's a ceiling to what he can achieve on BBC, in my opinion, because obviously we've had Mick Hennessy and we've had Sowlands over at Channel 5 doing their bit. Don't get me wrong, some decent fight nights. But there really are trade fight nights, aren't there, for the hardcore rather than for the transfer over population like football to boxing, casuals, if you will. So it'll be interesting, like you mentioned, to see which names hang around because the likes of Ben Whitaker is surely going to want difficult one for him because the eyeballs will be on him because it's free to air. But are they going to be able to pay him the purses that he's expecting?
Yeah, exactly that. And I can't imagine that they're going to ever be able to afford a world title fight at male level on the BBC iPlayer, or even a European title for that matter, with the fees and the sanctioning fees that those command. So I think it's almost, I mean, it's a bit harsh to say, but I think this announcement has very much relegated Ben Shalom, let's say, into the non-league of boxing promoting, really. I mean, I can't imagine it would be any different really to a Hobson show on Fight TV in terms of standards and what sort of level of fights he can attract.
Yeah, do you expect to see a mass exodus now out of boxing, Sean?
I do, yes, and I think we'll start seeing some announcements over the weekend. I don't think it's any big secret that Frank Smith's been talking to Ben Whitaker about signing him, so I anticipate seeing that happening. And obviously the other big names to watch are Adam Azim and Lauren Price to see where they land up.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting one, isn't it? Because although Sky have severed links with boxing regarding exclusivity, the door is still open a little bit. It's still a little bit ajar, isn't it? Because they have said that they're going to work with all promoters on fight nights moving forward. So, do you think the rationale is build a fighter from small hall onto BBC via Boxer to then hopefully start landing the big shots via a Sky Sports fight night? Do you think that might be the strategy?
Yeah, I think that's probably what they're looking to do, to be honest. But the thing is, I can't see it being sustainable in the long run, really, because they'll just get poached off of other promoters, really, even if they are in a contract, because I can't imagine he has frequent dates on the BBC. I imagine they're quite sporadic, like what Channel 5 are with the Sowlands. So in terms of building a career for a fighter, as you know, they need to fight, 4-6 times a year, really, especially if they're just coming up from the start. So it's going to be hard to see how that's achievable.
I'm really interested in the bit around Sky Sports being mentioned in contracts regarding fighting on Sky Sports. He's got that to work through as well, isn't it? Allegedly, because we don't know that. But there is a pathway there, isn't there? To take Harlem Eubank for an example, the Sauerlands did a great job with him in terms of exposure, got him obviously through the ranks and landed in that big fight with Cattrall. So there is a pathway there, isn't there? It's whether the fighters are willing to accept that pathway.
Yeah, and I think with Harlem, a big thing that helped him obviously was the surname. So I think he had a bit of an advantage there already, and the fact that he had Senior sort of as his manager in the corner. But no, there is very much a pathway there. I mean, we've seen it before, haven't we? With Sam Eggington, for example, he come up on those shows and he's a bit of a cult hero now. So it's definitely achievable.
But it's all about profile, though, isn't it, Sean? Because with all due respect to the Eggingtons of this world, they're nowhere near the potential profile of Ben Whitaker. I'm probably got nowhere near the expectation of purse level that Whitaker has. And I'd put Harlem Eubank in that category as well. Virtually unknown before Sauerland did the promotion job with on Channel 5. So I think Ben's got a lot of discussion to do with his fights, and he's really going to have to sell the angle into you. Free to air, eyeballs on your exposure. He's almost becoming a feeder now into for the big promoters, in my view.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. The other thing with especially Ben Whitaker, as we're talking about him now, he doesn't really need the extra eyeballs. He's already out there. He's already got a big profile, so that's already built for him. So in that essence, I don't think that will be a selling point to him. He will want to, as you say, the biggest purses, fight on the biggest cards, which ultimately will be either with Eddie Hearn or Frank Warren.
Yeah. So do you think boxers are in the market now of maybe unsigned fighters that are falling out of Matchroom and Queensbury, a bit like Sauerland have done over the past?
I think so. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I can see them picking up the likes of maybe if he has another couple of losses, Johnny Fisher, for example, someone like that. I can see that being quite successful. But yeah, I think they're very much in the B League of boxing promoters now, if they wasn't already, and it's going to be quite tough for them.
Yeah, on the last point, what surprises me is that it's gone down the BBC route. Because as we know, like you've mentioned, it's funded by licence payers rather than advertising. So there'll be no fluctuation in that budget, will there? Because it'll be set out in stone. So I'm leaning towards that as probably, and this is, I don't know this for a fact, but probably the only offer on the table I'd probably suggest. I'll use the word allegedly, because it's not an ideal platform for boxing, is it? It's not made up really to support the business of boxing, because business of boxing relies heavily on sponsorship. And I can perceive as he rolls these shows out, there might even be a few challenges around what sponsors he has, Sean, and whether the BBC would want them that brand on their television, etc., etc. So he's got a lot to work for, hasn't he?
Yeah, and we've seen with the BBC in particular, the only live sport they really show is major tournaments like the World Cup and the Euros, and they can only do that because of the amount of revenue sponsorship they get from the World Cup sponsors. So,
and also, Sean, them events are protected, right? They must go on territorial TV and free-to-air TV, or let's be honest, they wouldn't have them events, would they?
Yeah. So I don't think really the BBC is a sports platform. So I think that's going to be another struggle as well. The other thing that I don't think a lot of people have talked upon would be the broadcast team. I presume it will just be their radio guys like Bunsey, Richie Woodall that we're doing things. But even then, you need some sort of charismatic people to be able to get viewership in, really.
Do I need to get my application in, Sean?
Oh, yeah.
Do I need
I think you do, mate. You'll certainly ruffle up a few feathers there, that's for sure.
I hope you're going to use the word allegedly after that, because that's quite a strong statement to make, young man.
Yes, definitely. Allegedly.
So we fast forward 12 months. You know, I like to throw this question out. Where do you expect boxers to be? Because you did say in previous predictions that you think that they will be well down the pecking order. Does this change your mind anything, or is it still status quo?
No, I don't think it does. I think it's going to be a real struggle for them, to be honest. I mean, I just can't see it working out, to be brutally honest. And even fighters that are on the rise, Callum Simpson, will he be happy there? I mean, he's European champion, that's going to demand a certain amount of rights fees and obviously his own purse. So I just don't really see how it's going to be sustainable for them.
Interesting. So, a very interesting announcement. We've only had 6 hours on to 7 hours to digest it. So, I'm sure this will run well, especially when we learn more from Ben Shalom when he comes out and does interviews about amount of dates he's got, etc., etc. So, Sean, thank you very much for joining me this morning. Much appreciated.
Thanks,
So,
mate.
that's mine and Sean's comments on all things boxer. Agree or disagree, post your comments below. This has been Last World Boxing. See you on the next video. Thank you very much. Cheers, Sean. Thank you.
Thanks, mate.